I press on. It's not a white man's finger on the trigger. Carjacks, drive-bys, calling each other. I'm not here to scold, but rather shape and mold a young black mind that won't live to grow old. Cause you're frontin', smoking on the blunt and down with your friends, cause you think you're making ends, but you're not. And that's the truth of the matter. Your brother getting skinny cause you want your pockets fat. 5 o'clock in the morning, where you gonna be? Outside on the corner. You better get yourself together while you're wasting all your time right along with your mind. 5 o'clock in the morning, where you gonna be? Outside on the corner. You better get yourself together while you're wasting all your time right along with your mind.
That ain't you. 2560. Hit us on the hotline. Oh, you live? Okay.
Of course, I'm interesting that people tune in every single week to allow me to live my dream on my now 7th radio show. I'm getting up there.
Lucky 7.
Thank you.
It's all right.
That is what's up.
And it's not even, it's so different now we were talking because it's not just, it's radio. I have to like get up and look good and not just wear my pajamas.
I know, that's right.
You know what I mean? Actually show up and try to do something with myself.
Right.
But it's a new day. We talked about that. It's a YouTube, era, and we will be always streaming live on YouTube and on the app at voxwave.com. Welcome back to the Frantastic Live Show. Call us, 240-719-2560. Now that Non has the actual right website that she's texting.
There's no reason to live in the past. That's in the past.
That's in the past. I don't know.
I don't live in the past.
Right,
You live in the past. I live in the future.
Right.
So
just saying.
But she futurely texted to me earlier.
I mean,
So
over the course
So
of
is this
3 to
ganging
4
up?
weeks, I've been texting the information. But you know what?
It's funky like that.
It's a special edition. I'm just so grateful that you're here. There's no rhyme or reason today. Thank you, Ron, for always...
Shout out to Ron. Shout out to Ron one time.
Ron here tonight. Yeah.
Always just letting me be me. And I'm so grateful and thankful to have you two be here. So let's talk. Let's talk about your upbringing, because the one thing that, I love my show. And it's only a rare occasion that I get to do a show by myself. And the reason why is because obviously we know that I'm from California. So
what part of California?
I'm from Southern California, Riverside, but I've spent most of my time in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So my parents were both Marines, so that's why I ended up in Quantico. And
all right. Is it the Oorah? Is that Oorah?
It's definitely Oorah and Semper Fi.
Thank you for your service.
So I appreciate it. So I will make sure I let them know. But, with that said, I've been like an honorary Washingtonian DMV as person for 10 years almost. You know what I mean? So I appreciate everybody who's enveloped me and let me come in, because it's been a hard road as somebody who's
not from here.
Not from here, with my boobs and my hair and my nails. Imagine me as a resurrecting queen. Let's just say, like, shout out to Uptown and Katrina and to everybody who normally watches. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. But just imagine me and a bunch of very strong, powerful, not so boob, hair, and nail women. So it definitely taught me a lot, and I've definitely become I thought I was gangster, but I didn't realize how gangster I was till I moved to the
Southeast?
D.C. area. Basically, Southeast. I feel more comfortable walking in Baltimore and Southeast than I do, almost anywhere, in New York or whatever. But that's just because we know the pulse of the city.
Right.
In saying that, getting back to the radio, to the internet shows or radio, I always usually have a co-host. And I do that for a reason, because I always have somebody who went to school here.
Oh, okay.
Or who grew up here, obviously, knows everything about the culture that I, can't necessarily really know. Much more than like Mambo Sauce and, U Street and all these different things, yeah. But you two know the pulse of this city. There's a lot of things that go on that are underground that lots of people outside looking in my fan base or whatever you want to call it in New York or Atlanta or in Los Angeles just don't know. So really quick, I want you to talk about, how you started here, where you started here, your connections to the community. Let's talk about the nonprofit tour while we can. The Epilepsy Foundation. I want to get to like the root and the culture of it, because that's what makes my about DC. So let's get into it.
We didn't know what we was getting into, right? We just didn't know. No one told us.
Listen,
no one told us about
this.
Nipples in DC.
DC is just...
DC nipples.
I have no idea.
Nobody warned you,
no one warned me. No one warned us at all. And he come in here, what's up?
Yeah.
Right. Nipples. She
didn't tell us how raw this was going to be.
Ron is like,
we get to the heart of it.
Okay.
Or what's, on your chest.
Okay.
Tell everybody that doesn't know where you're from, what school you went to, some things about you that people wouldn't know that, happened before 95 or before, all of the things that you've done in the past, 6 years or, things like that.
Okay.
Because I want everybody to be connected to the people I bring on this show.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so they feel connected to not, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because we do this for the culture. So first of all, Uptown DC. I really used to think that Uptown DC people were just like in a whole nother like stratosphere. I thought they were just so
I mean, sometimes we are,
much
but that's
better
just
than
another.
me.
We're from
And
Cali. That
you know,
really doesn't matter.
but uptown people are insane. And they have their own, like, you know how Baltimore has their own like swag. Uptown people are just in their own, from their own planet.
Right.
And they want people to know that. And they don't necessarily always express that, you know. But I feel like if you're coming from another place and you come to D.C., everybody has their own different separate swag. I mean, the people in Virginia don't have the same swag as the people, obviously, you know, in Bethesda.
Right.
But you know what I mean? It's somebody that's not from here. Where do you think there's like a gentrification time that happened? And I used to be like, DMV, until somebody told me, you can't do that. You can't interlock D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Right.
And that's a sad truth. That's an unfortunate truth, because some time ago I was at an award show, local award show, Titan Awards, and there were some artists that were from like Hagerstown and Gaithersburg, and some other far out places, and they felt so disconnected, unaccepted, unappreciated because they were not from the city, right in the city. And that's one of our problems. That's one of the DMV specifically. Our problem is, one, we make ourselves small. Nobody, even though there are boroughs in New York, and they definitely appreciate and champion where they're from, they never say, I'm not from New York. Right. I'm from Brooklyn, as if this is a completely different place. So we make our platform so much smaller when we don't appreciate artists from the entire DMV. So you have a Logic who is now doing incredible things, and shout out to all of the artists that are from the DMV, District Maryland and Virginia, that are doing things, making headway in their careers. Do we want to say Logic is not from the DMV? Would we not appreciate him, you know, or would we bash him the way that so many people bashed Wale for being, honestly, to this day, I have no idea where Wale is from. I don't know. I don't care. Right. You know, I'm very, very happy for all of his accomplishments as a DMV artist. So that's the unfortunately, and it wasn't until, you know, I saw those guys out, you know, in a hallway where there was, you know, I don't know, you know, a whole bunch of us talking, and, you know, and I overheard them talking. They weren't talking to me, but I overheard them and went over and started talking to them. And it was at that point where I said, you know, it's really sad when, you know, we have things like, you know, uptown artists, or, you know, I don't even know, I never knew there was a downtown artist, or, you know, artists from other, you know, surrounding places outside of, you know, the district that, you know, feel, you know, completely separated. And it just, like I said, it just makes our platform, our whole culture, our DMV musical culture so small when we don't really appreciate everyone that we have who is now contributing and giving a piece of themselves to not only this area but the world. I mean, so, you know, I've had and continue to have a problem with that. You know, it's no way for me to know every DMV artist. You know, it's no way I should know. You know, it would be wonderful if I did. That would mean that they are doing something to impact my, you know, life in some way that I would hear them. But with that being said, that doesn't lessen their value. It doesn't lessen my value. If I never had a 5 o'clock, it wouldn't lessen my value that I was from Northeast DC, and to a person that lives in Hagerstown. You know, so I just really hope that at some point in time, you know, our state of mind changes with that.
Right. And the flip side of that is that you will get people to say, and I do it too, If they say, hey, this person's from DC, I'm like, nah, they from Maryland. Or this person's from Maryland, like, nah, they from DC because they live right up the street from me. Well, I thought they was from Maryland. Like, nah, they're from DC. I know an artist right now who does not claim DC at all, but they claim another state in the city because that's the city and state that raised them in the art form. So when they come back here, they're looked up, they're looked at like, when that person comes back here to do a lecture or a tour or whatever have you, when someone approaches them and I'm like, yo, this person is in DC tonight. If you can go to this event, go to this event. This person will go to this event, whoever it is, and say, hey, I heard you're from DC. And somebody will speak for them like, nah, they're from so-and-so. Like, nah, I know you're from DC because I was told that you were from the city.
Right.
So, and then when we use the words like DMV, I look at it like this too. The flip side of that is like what Non is saying is true too, but I look at the flip side of it as well. You look at DMV, like shit, you can't live in all these three places at once. You either from DC, Maryland, or Virginia.
Exactly.
So you
Pick
think
one
it's
of
a
them.
disservice we do if we kind of group everybody? Like it should never, ever, ever be. Because I mean, when I was growing up in Florida, people said maybe Broward County or Duval or Miami-Dade, but when it all was said and done, we all just kind of rode for each other. Like it was come together day, and all of us from the different counties would literally come together.
Now the crazy thing is that Virginia don't have dope spots like DC does.
Right.
Maryland may not have.
Virginia.
Maryland may not have a place where people can go sharpen their swords and be a doper artist, like open mics that you can go to we had True School. So True School, we had that every Friday. Okay. So everyone from Virginia to Maryland, like PG County, Montgomery County, Silver Spring, they were coming to DC because they were going to see what this hip hop thing was about and how they can be involved in it. And then when they started to come and flood it out, we realized like, oh, wait, are you from DC? Like, nah, I'm from Virginia. From Hagerstown, or I'm from Fairfax. I just drove down here because I heard that this spot was the popping spot. Mm-hmm. So now we get all these artists in one place. Now everyone should be on the same playing field because everyone is an artist. Mm-hmm. So when we start to deal like this is a dope artist, it shouldn't matter where they're from.
Right. It shouldn't.
It shouldn't matter where they're from. Like Logic. Like I've known Logic for a long time. I've seen him come through the open mic circuit. Right. He'll always say he's from Bethesda or Maryland. He would kind of correct you, but he would say, I got my start in DC at this open mic called Carry Out. Mm-hmm. He would actually say that. Mm-hmm. So it's you'll get some people who are just front like they're from the city, and you're not because you live way out Rockville. So you got artists that do that too. So it's a fine line between it, and I understand what Non is saying as well, because when we kind of ostracize it, it doesn't allow certain artists to just be an artist.
Right.
And that's
exactly.
what I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's not like people from the outside are saying, Logic, you're from Bethesda. You are not from Southeast. It's not like people from the outside are saying, you make sure you make sure you state Wale that you're from MoCo or not PG or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's us as a community who are like, wait a minute, don't say that because you don't know, you didn't go to that carry out in the corner. Right. You're not from there. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like us as a community, kind of like pulling each other back and tearing to me as an outsider for the smallest little detail, but for you all who have grown up and dealt and done and whatever, through this is your community. Apparently, to some, it's very important. And
if you notice, it really only, again, something else that only happens in rap music or as an MC, because nobody's telling Maya, you're not from the DMV, or Tank, no, you're not Gill. From such, or Genuine, or anybody, or Raheem, you're not from such as, no, they're not putting stipulations on what is your address. Right. We need to see your address. Where are you? Right. No, nobody's doing that because it's R&B. But when it comes to, there are so many.
Thing because speaking of Raheem and Chris Brown, we all have the same birthday today. So shout out to you two.
Shout out.
Are they watching? Hopefully they watch.
Well, Raheem might be, but. Anyway,
shout out to Robin. What's up, Rob? You watching? Happy birthday!
With that, you think the R&B gets a pass? They could just be.
They are. They are getting a pass, which is it's not a pass. It's just not a stipulation that's placed on them. They're just doing their thing. Right. Nobody's saying that you have to. So it's just so many things that happens within the rap or MC community that it's just like ridiculous. It's just like the time that you spend on this. you really could be spending on finding out, who the next, or supporting who you already love. The time you spending on figuring out why you don't like somebody, or why you can't like somebody, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy and it's redundant, and it's getting a little bit better. I would just say, from the first couple of years I started this, and it was very like, I'd be very careful, and kind of like make sure and I always research everybody that I talk to, but to make sure I didn't like say the wrong place or whatever. And it just makes the energy weird. And it's like, I really could care less. It's all about the music for me.
I mean, for me, for me, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've never been exposed to that. So that's I guess the blessing for me is that I've never been exposed to not being accepted because I was from Northeast DC. It was just people love the record. Right. It spoke to them. It continues to speak to them. Other things that I've done, other music that I've done continues to speak to them. So, I've just been, loved overall. So the only question was when I first came out, when the record first dropped, people didn't know where I was from because, go-go was such, an impactful thing that was coming from the DMV. Of course, it's homegrown, so people instantaneously thought that I would have go-go on my record, or they thought I was not from the DMV, period. They didn't think I was, so they would ask me, where are you from? And I'd be like, DC. And then they'd be like, oh, okay, so you have go-go on your record? And I'd be like, no, I don't have any go-go. We're, there are MCs in DC. So, but that was the only thing that, affected me initially, is people not knowing where I was from, because because we were in such the fetal stages to the outside world of MCing. So it wasn't until they knew, the impact that we were making locally, and like you said, with True School and things like that, that they became knowledgeable that there are MCs from DC. So that question, eventually went away.
And it also too with that thing is like when you are in the mainstream media part of it, and then someone asks you where you're from, and you don't say where you're from. Right. You say somewhere else, and people know you're from their neighborhood, and you don't address that shit. That's the problem.
Yeah, that should be a problem.
That's the whole problem. Because my thing is, they were interviewing New Edition. You say, all of y'all from Boston, right? Everyone was like, yeah. Johnny, you're not from Boston. You should have said, everyone's here from. Everyone's here from Boston except for me. Right. I'm from Washington D.C.
Right.
You know what's crazy about that?
And they interviewed them, and he never said that. He never corrected that. So if you don't correct them, then the media will continue to think that you are, because some media folks don't do their homework. Right. They'll think, oh, Nonchalant's from New York? Yeah, she's from New York because she does hip, and it's hip hop. Nah, she's from DC, but there's no go-go on the record. Nah, she's from New York. Okay. So if Nonchalant never corrected anybody, everybody 20 years later would be like, she's from Brooklyn.
That has to hit everybody here like hard, because it's hard as, because I'm like an honorarily one of you. It would hit me hard if Johnny Gill did not say he was from DC, because we want everybody to see what amazing talent that comes out of here. Because when you talk about the Tarajis and all these different people, like Chris Brown's or whatever, they don't mention, which is like an underlying thing that nobody talks about, that they're from this area.
I think mention it every now and again, but I know what you mean. Taraji definitely, she's
her. I mean, you got, like we said, we talked about, with him and with Chris and with Trey Songz, like all of these people are from this area, and we don't get that. I feel like, obviously we don't get that little bit of shine, but then when we separate each other, like nobody really wants to say that they're from Virginia, just because I live there and it sucks. I'm sure, like the Commonwealth of Virginia sucks. But at the same time, not the people, but the Commonwealth sucks. So it's like
don't
a lot
mess it
of
up
times.
for us, because that's what we try and go. We try and go to VA.
We love you, VA.
You want to go to VA? I know the places you should go. Do you know what I mean? There's, I've spent my time. Literally last year when I lived here in DC and Maryland, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, because it's boom, 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 boom. It's literally like going back, to LA or whatever. But it was so much, I was not ready. Do you know what I mean? Where Virginia, we kind of go at our own pace.
Yes, you do.
You know what I mean? We
Absolutely.
obviously
When
they
you're
can't drive. And
Y'all might as well
I'm
just
not
have
fr-
a horse
it's-
and carriage out there.
It's easier to live there and do this 2-hour
Right.
commute or whatever than it is to kind of live here, because obviously I'm gonna make my way back up here and live here because I love DC and Maryland, but and when it comes to Virginia, like there's such a place for you all to go, and to there's so many places that are begging and screaming for what you both do,
And we want to go there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So many
Because-
places do.
Absolutely, because I think me and Nonchalant bring something completely different from to the table, because her background is different from my background. When you talk, because when I talk on her on the phone and we're texting each other, we're not necessarily always talking about hip hop.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you ride with Nonchalant for 20 minutes or so, she may not be listening to hip hop. You know what I'm saying? She may be listening to something else. So it's just a form of what we're bringing to the table as a collective, how we're going to move in the nonprofit tour, what we're going to do and how we're going to do it,
Right.
and still be thinking on the same streaming the same format. Like we're raising money for this, we're doing this, even though we came from different backgrounds, our similarities, and then our goal is to make sure the show is dope, that we're doing what we should do in the community, and not just having a problem, but coming with a solution.
For sure, and there's that common connection. I would love for people to see. I mean, obviously, 10, 20 years ago, us were like in our prime, and it was dope, and it was everything.
I'm in my prime now.
But
Yeah,
exactly what I'm
about what
saying.
she's doing.
Flash forward, 20 some odd years later, like
Right.
this is it. Like this is
Right.
the dopest time, because we know who we are, we know what we want to do, we know where we're going,
Mm-hmm.
and so we also know that it's important to make sure we give back.
Definitely.
Focus on
Right.
targeting.
Definitely.
And it's definitely also important that when these artists are coming up in this area, to know who came before them.
Right.
When they do interviews, they can shout out. My thing is, what I should have done at first before we started this interview is shout out everybody who came before me.
Okay, I usually
Because-
do top 5.
Because that's what we should do. Like
it.
it's Nonchalant, DC Scorpio, then it's Black Indian, Asylum.
I really want
You know,
Black Indian to come right
and then it's Section 8 Mob. You know what I mean? And then you have all these other little pockets of folks that came before us. You had Fat Rodney, who would have been our Biggie Smalls of DC. Until the tragic thing happened with him. So you run all these people down, and you had the Beggar Clan. Then you had like all these people coming up before you. If you don't have this knowledge, you can't say you're the first person to tour the world twice.
Right.
No. Let's go back. Who's the first person from DC to tour the world twice on a hip hop level?
Right.
Let's think about that. Oh, Nonchalant. This had to 5 o'clock in the morning. She had until this. You know what I'm saying? It's just giving these kudos and giving the praises to those who came before you. Now you should know your DC history.
Right. Which I don't
And
see
VA
a lot of.
and VA artists should know their VA history.
Right.
Maryland artists should know they. So if a young cat come up and say, "Who is the artist from Maryland that put on their own tour,
Right.
like that's doing something big now?" The first person they should think about is Logic.
Yeah.
The first person.
And Logic
You know what
doesn't
I mean?
get his,
And he doesn't get his
respect the same way that they beat up, chewed up, spit out Wale at some
Mm-hmm.
point in time. Like, and obviously I had to get to know Wale like underneath all of the exterior and know what kind of person he was. And I wasn't a huge big fan. We weren't fans of each other. But once you find that common ground, we just want to do what's best for this community, and it shouldn't be whether he's from here, there, whatever. That's the point.
Right.
If we all just kind of like come together, because there's this new top 20 list that comes out every single year.
Yeah, it's
and
whack. You know why it's whack?
I can't stand
Why is it
why it's
whack?
whack?
Why is it whack?
Because Nonchalant not on
It
it.
pisses me
all
off.
day.
I'm not on it.
All
It makes
day.
me mad.
Kenilworth Katrina not on it.
Right.
So many
Mr.
people
City
aren't
Yet
Yet
on
you
it.
have these
So many
very
people aren't
new
on it.
18,
And then-
19, 21, not taking away. I don't want to be an ageist. I'm
too
trying
late.
not to be.
Look, we can take the ages out of hip hop, but when it comes to having your knowledge of what's going on in the culture, we have to add age to it, because now you're not even trying to go to find out where these people are now.
Right.
You call yourself the big blogs of the city, but you're not blogging where these artists are doing now.
Right.
You didn't blog about the nonprofit tour. You blogging about something else that has nothing to do with DC hip hop,
Right.
but you have a DC hip hop website. It makes no sense to
It
me.
doesn't. And it shouldn't take.
You know what I mean? It shouldn't take me to go on your website or your Instagram and be blah 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 and blah blah blah.
Right.
Sin.
Right.
And I just feel like if there was a bunch of us who kind of, because the time and stuff keep going, and we all like a trap song here and there, you know what I mean? We all are proud of these young people coming out of their Dirty Rico or whatever her name is, Rico Nasty, and all of these
Dirty Rico's a DJ.
Okay,
shout out to Dirty Rico.
So of course, I know the DJs. So Rico Nasty, and then all these different people that are coming, out of here. I want to, again, like we talked about, encourage them because we know that we want them to have have longevity
We
into
definitely
this.
do.
We definitely don't want to hate on them, but when you're making a list.
Make it.
And
check
you
it twice.
don't put, these two on it. You don't put like Bobby Max and all these different people who have just done such amazing things, like you said, Kenilworth, and just when I think of DC, it's synonymous. It just drives me crazy.
I feel like I can't be on every list.
True.
I'm not going to be on every list.
Right.
But to speak to what Enoch brought up, I just feel like when you take on the title and the responsibility of giving information about our musical history and culture, it is your responsibility to be well informed. I don't need ABC, NBC, CNN, MSNBC to give me half of just what they know. Half of the story, half of the history behind what happened with the story. No, you have to be well informed, completely informed.
Right.
So when you speak to the masses, you know what the hell you're talking about. Otherwise, simply say, this is my opinion and these are the people that I know that I think is dope. Right. And this is what I know about as far as I haven't done all the research, but I did go on social media and I saw a couple of Instagram pics, and based on a couple of people telling me some stuff, this is what I think is hot and who has done the most or has done something. Otherwise, if you're going to take the responsibility on and if I'm looking at the camera and you feel like I'm talking to you, then I'm talking to you.
Absolutely.
Then please.
Just be.
I don't need to be on every list. I don't need to be at every event. I don't need to be called, contacted, emailed, DM'd, or any of that. But when you speak about the history of our culture, and it's specifically hip hop, not R&B, because I'm not a singer. But if you speak on hip hop, DMV hip hop, and my name don't come up, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and people don't need to listen to you or read your blog or whatever it is you're putting out.
We got problems.
And that's exactly.
Now we need to take an offering.
It's a pass the collection plate.
And I'm not trying to be. I don't want to sound bitter because I'm not. Right. I just feel again, it makes our platform in history so small, and it's very important to artists that are coming up, that are entering into this culture, that are in this culture, dredging through the freaking mud, trying to make people hear what they have to say. It's important that they know that someone has said something that is carrying on 20 years later, and that they can do the same thing. They have the possibility to do the same thing. They may feel it, but they may not know about a Nonchalant, because a lot of times it's happened where I've actually done that and pushed send, and then in the comments I get DM'd because somebody who was reading your blog or whatever it is you put out had never heard of me, and it wasn't until I went on there that they knew that this was happening or had happened or continues to happen, whatever it is I'm doing in my life, and that they can talk to me and do it too, or do it even better. So it's important. It's very, very important that you be well informed if you're talking to the masses.
And I couldn't have said it better myself. So, really quickly, because we only have so much time.
Cool.
The nonprofit tour was just an amazing experience to be.
Thank you so much for coming too,
Absolutely.
man. We appreciate you.
Coming.
We appreciate you coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was huge.
It was
Absolutely.
huge.
It
was
really
a
was.
beautiful thing, and everybody. It was a great chance to reunite with a lot of people I haven't seen in a really long time too. So I was very proud of people for coming out for something beyond themselves, and for you to be able to tell your story. I know that our mutual friend Matt Beverly of Golden Era Media.
Shout out to Matt and
whom I
Golden
love.
Era.
Yeah,
Matt,
who's
what up?
my partner in this, and because of him, I've been able to live a lot of dreams. And
He's a great guy.
He is such a good guy.
He's a great guy.
Just a genuinely good guy.
Mm-hmm.
But it affects him and closely too in his life, and you never know. There's always somebody who is affected in your life by something, and epilepsy is one of those things.
Right.
So we started off there with a nonprofit tour. Now what's next?
The nonprofit tour.
Where do you think that you guys will pop up next, so that way everybody can be a part of that experience that I was a part of? That was super dope.
Well, we are in Enoch can speak on this as well, probably a little bit better than I can, I'm sure. We are in talks with 3 different cities, some one of which is very, very close. But what we encourage people to do is to reach out to us, because when people hear nonprofit tour, one, they think that it's so large that perhaps, we won't come if you call us. And this started, the whole idea behind the nonprofit tour was to reach small mom and pop foundations and nonprofits and agencies that give locally in the community, because they are starving. They don't have, the funding, the government funding and that sort of thing. So we really wanted to focus on and want to focus on those small. So I want to say to whoever's watching, whoever will see this, if you have something that you're running out of your house and you're helping the community, please reach out to us, because we will try to figure out a way to come do a show and help you. The Epilepsy Foundation touches me personally, and it was a blessing for us to have that be our kickoff show. It touches me personally because of my nephew Christopher, who passed away from epilepsy when he was very, very young. As a teenager, had just graduated high school. Avion Andromeda, he's known by in the music world, in the hip hop music world. And the Epilepsy Foundation was something that I was already involved in. I was actually, along with myself, DJ, super producer, Flawless A Sharp. Shout out to Flawless A Sharp, DJ A Sharp. I was the DJ as well as one of the hosts for the National Mall. So on the National Mall. And then we came up with, we just wanted to try to make the tour bigger. We did it last year, and I said, how can we make this more impactful? So that's how we got this thing kicked off. We're real people, so this is not some gimmick name, non-profit, Nonchalant, Enoch 7 Profit. Exactly. Right. So we're in talks with a couple of cities. One, the foundation is large. It's a larger foundation, but a couple of smaller charities that are in need. So we'll be announcing that super soon. The website is under construction right now. When is a website not under construction? Right. But hopefully it will be up in the very, very near future. But until then, we will be sending out information via social media, of course, myself and Enoch.
Right. So if anybody wants to reach you both and to book you or to be a part of the foundations and charities and charitable experiences that you are about to put on, give everybody your information.
So Enoch, you want to give them?
So the information for the
Chakra music and everything else.
Yeah, and just to right quick, just to finish up what Nonchalant was saying, is that when we first did the tour, the first phase of it, we called it, of course, the nonprofit tour, and we was like battling with that name for a minute, because we were like, well, if we call it nonprofit, people think that we're not trying to make any money, like we're not trying to get paid or get some funds. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I was like, nah, it sounds dope because you're Nonchalant. I'm Enoch 7 Profit. Let's see how. And then we kind of kept saying it to ourselves or writing it down. It was like, yo, this looks dope. Because we can interchange it at any time. We can bring on different artists at any time, and it's still the nonprofit
Profit tour, exactly.
what.
And then Nan was like, after we came back from, I think our last spot was in Augusta. When we came back, she was like, yo, how can we make it bigger? And that's when we came with the epilepsy. You know, I knew her nephew. So we was in the same trenches because I used to come see him at certain open mics. We used to pass through the U Street corridor or Georgia Avenue, and we used to pass all the time. We used to speak to each other. One another again, he's a young brother that was like, yo, Enoch, what's up? And I was like, what's up? And we started talking, and that's how we kind of kicked it off. When I came to see him perform, he was like, yo, my aunt's managing me now. I was like, really? And I looked at him like, who's your aunt? Because we was already talking about, he was like, Nonchalant. I was like, what?
That's
That's your aunt? He was like, yeah, she around here somewhere. And then I saw him, we started talking. He was like, yeah, that's my nephew, Chris, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, it only fits. It's fitting because I knew this brother.
Right.
It's not like I'm just going off the face of this is Nonchalant. She did this for the culture, blah, blah, blah. I look way past that. Nonchalant's a person. I love this sister. So we like on that level.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when she was like, yeah, let's do this, I was like, word, let's just make it happen. Because it was it's something bigger than a nonprofit tour. And everyone complains about something. Now we have a solution for a complaint.
And it was just
You know
meant
what I
to
mean?
be. I mean,
And it was just meant to be. So people want to reach out to us. You can always, go to the Instagram pages and things like that. But the email wise, you'll go to nonprofittour@gmail. So nonprofittour@gmail. Hit us up. Let us know where you're at, what city and state you're in, whether it's doing something for the children or raising money for the children to have school supplies. It's one of those things.
Right.
We want to give back.
Whatever you're doing, whatever you do, it's
Right.
not. It's never too small.
Never.
It's never too small for us to come and be a part of a city and bring in some artists from that city to be a part of the tour, because that's something that we want to do. We don't want to just bring artists from the DMV. What we want to do, we have a couple of artists that we have toured with and really enjoyed their music, and we'll bring them in. But we want artists from that, from the city that we're in to be a part of the show when we come there. So definitely, again, nonprofittour@gmail.com. Reach out to us and we will try to make it happen. The beautiful thing is, if we don't come to your city and do it the first time, we can come again and again and again and again until we get to you.
Yeah.
I'm very much obliged.
No, please. Thank
really
you. Happy
appreciate
birthday
you.
again.
Thank you so,
Thank you
so
so much
much
for having us.
Yes.
This is one of the best birthdays ever. It's just so crazy, to be honest, because I'm going to leave here. I got to go see Joe Claire at his show.
Nice.
Oh, that's
Shout out to
Bethesda,
Joe.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I got to go shoot up to Maryland to see Mr. Cheeks at his show.
Oh,
Oh,
shout
that's
out
at the
to
Firehouse.
Cheeks.
Right. And I was looking at the Unsung of Lost Boys, and they had the picture of the charts in 95. And here was Lost Boys and here was Nonchalant.
Yeah.
And it's just, my mom was like, oh my God. Like, she, couldn't even believe it. The fact that I'm able to have you both just in my, atmosphere is an amazing thing. Like,
I'm hood famous.
You
Non
are.
is worldwide famous.
But
Two different things.
It's two different things.
You can catch me on the subway. You have to catch Nonchalant
You can catch
in the
me
back
on
of
the
the
subway.
limo.
You can catch
You know what I mean? She in the limo, past the Great
but that's-
Poupon. You know
that's
what I'm
the
saying?
equal balance.
this guy right
You
here.
can catch me on the train to
Trust
70,
and
64.
believe.
I
Trust.
think
see me
that's
walking.
the equal balance, and that's why we obviously the energy is right, because I'm just so hood, but at the same token, I will eat some Grey Poupon.
I know that's
see?
right.
Any
Same
day.
here. I'm saying.
Have
Can I
you
give some
tried to-
shout outs? I want to give some shout
Go
outs.
ahead, real quick.
Okay,
And then we
so
gotta-
wrap it up.
Yep.
Okay, so
Wrap it up,
again,
B.
I want to shout out Cal Rips. I'd like to shout out super producer Flawless A Sharp. I would like to shout out Louie. Shout out to Louie one time. I want to shout out DJ Bedazzle. I want to shout out DJ Bedazzle. Who else I want to shout out? I want to shout out.
Your mama. Your mama's dope.
Whoa,
Your mama's dope.
See, this is
I
why.
love her mama.
This
I love
is
her
why.
mama, though. Her
this
mama's
is why
dope.
I was just about to say shout out to Mom.
How do you forget your own mother?
I know I wasn't. I was just about to say shout out to Mom Shalon. And this,
Mom
this is
Shalon?
why
Shalon.
Mom.
So
Shout out to Mom
cute.
Shalon. I mean, shout out to my entire family, man.
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
shout
yeah,
out,
dope.
shout out,
Yeah,
shout out, shout out.
absolutely.
You can shout out.
And for you, real
You
quick?
can shout out.
My mama, of course. My grandmama.
mama.
My sister. DJ King C. Chakra Music.
Yes, indeed.
Everybody's on the nonprofit tour.
Yeah.
yourself.
Yes.
Thank you. Please,
You know what I'm
if there's
saying?
anything that I can do to be a part and to help you, like, just let me know.
You're doing it.
And then-
You're doing it right now.
Doing it right now.
You're
We're
doing it
talking-
right now.
You're doing your part right
That's yes.
That was
You
the
know what
goal.
I'm saying?
Thanks so much for VoxWave.com having us.
Absolutely.
We genuinely appreciate it. I mean, I have to say, I didn't even know this place was here. And I came in.
It was like, when the hell is
look,
Joan
but
at?
look, total professionalism. I haven't been drinking, just the water,
Right.
and just made us feel very, very at home. But I'm really, really excited with the things that you all are
this is
doing
really
here
dope.
for artists like myself, local artists, and everybody. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for
And
coming. That's what
I like
we do.
to shout out the future because that's where we're going.
Definitely. It
What's
all
up,
starts
future?
here.
What's
Not
up?
that future.
Not that-
Not that future.
The real
Not that
future.
future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Frantastic Live Show. Each and every week, you allow me to live my dream, which is an amazing thing. It feels good to have complete and utter control of my, I don't want to say radio because this is clearly check the rebroadcast out on YouTube and on the website and on the app. And there's just so many places for you to get plugged in. Go to Frantasio505 and click the link in my bio if you want to register. Everybody has to register. Like that's, unless, whatever. But, it is what it is this year. Make sure you go to the link in my bio, register if you want to come on and get so many DMs and so many calls. And I appreciate all the support. But if you want to be here, register and you can also perform live on our stage. But this is just the beginning. It's going to get bigger and better. And I'm just so grateful to be here. It's been an amazing birthday. And it's just getting started. It's early.
It's getting started. It's
Right.
early. You early birding. It's
Super
not.
early.
I'm about to go home and take a nap.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to have a little power nap or something. But thank you so much each and every Friday from VoxWave, Power 37.3. I'm right here on the Frantastic Live Show. I will see you next week. Hopefully not so much champagne going on. That way I can be a little bit more, funny. But, just...
She was funny.
I was,
She was
funny.
funny. She was
Thank
funny.
you so
She
much.
said nipples
I did say nipples. Which
several times.
I was like,
Literally
what kind
went
of show is
over well.
this? It's a family and friends. Is this a family
Definitely
show?
not a family show.
It sure isn't.
What?
We can
It
talk about
never-
nipples.
you know what?
Random.
It never really is.
That
a
was so
family show.
random. I was like,
It's usually a little triple X rated. Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you next week.
Instagram nonchalant.
Peace. Instagram,
Real
Enoch 7 Prophet.
nonchalant. And nonchalant. Just Instagram.
Nonchalant.
Instagram me.
Enoch 7 Prophet.
Enoch and
The
nonchalant.
real nonchalant.
Because there's only one.
Nonchalant.